Hey guys, as a lot of you already know, we were at Disney when Irma came through, and so we thought we'd share with you our experience. We were one of the people lucky enough to get out before Irma, but there was still a lot of interesting stuff going on as Disney was preparing, so we thought we'd share all of that with you today. So I actually have to thank my father for notifying us of Irma's severity and path, because he sent me an email pretty early in the week. He was concerned because when we go on vacation, we kind of stop watching the news. We live in the Disney bubble. I'd seen a little bit on Twitter, I think, but not much, not enough to be concerned at that point. And it was too early then to really know where it was going to go, for sure. But we were already sick at that point, or at least I was. I can't remember if you were yet. And so we decided to go ahead and move our flight back just to be on the safe side, because I couldn't miss work. I would get dinged for vacation, so that means like our future vacations, like the one coming up, I would have had to take days out of it. Yeah. And so that would stink. I don't want to do that. And plus I was sick anyway, so we decided to play on the side of caution. Normally, we're kind of willing to risk it, and if it had been at the beginning or the middle of our trip, we would have just stayed. I don't think we would have come back, you know. We're not particularly worried about, like, getting hurt, I guess you would say.
Right.
Like, I think that was my dad's concern, but Orlando's not in a flood, you know, like, storm surge area, and sure, there's danger, there's tornadoes, there's all kinds of dangers. I'm not saying there's no danger, but Disney buildings are pretty robust. You know, you see foliage down and some minor flooding and stuff like that, but I've never seen like significant, at least in recent history, damage at Disney. We did want to take a minute though to say we're not making light of this at all. I know tons of people were affected. Even just losing your power for days is a nightmare. We've been through that before. We lost power 9 days during Fran, and then people whose houses were flooded and all kinds of damage. Our hearts go out to you. Yeah. We're not making light of that at all. We're just talking about our experience at Disney and what we ended up doing. So you want to talk about moving the flights back?
So, yeah, what day did we change? I guess it was Wednesday,
Tuesday.
Right? Oh, was it Tuesday?
It was either Tuesday or Wednesday,
so
right?
We were supposed to fly out Sunday, and then we changed it to Saturday, right?
Right. Midday, like in the afternoon. Early Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, afternoon flight. And then later on that same day, I was reading stuff about, you know, possibly closing the airport, and I was like, well, we need to move this flight up even more. And by that time, there was only one choice, which was an 8 a.m. flight.
Saturday.
Flight out Saturday. The Southwest is great because as soon as the storm advisory went in effect, they had put a 14-day period on your flight that you can change at any time, you know, to any destination maybe. I don't know. You know, I'm not sure about the destination. But the time, for sure, you can choose any other flight, and they wouldn't charge you any extra, which is awesome.
Yep.
You know, Southwest is pretty good.
Well, and we'll get to our experience at the airport the day we left. Yeah. We'll get to that later. They were fantastic that day as well.
That's about it for the flight. It was easy to change. Luckily, we found
we just lucked out that there was something open, and so then life sort of went back to normal until. I would say, well, I guess Thursday is the first day we started noticing the crowds had gone way down. I mean, drastic. Food and wine had no lines. The rides, other than like Pandora, which I don't think ever doesn't have a big line, other than Pandora, the lines were low for everything. Like even big rides. Well, Seven Dwarfs still had a good size line at that time. And then as you moved on to Friday, it was kind of strange. Yeah. It was like sadly, we were both so sick at that point that we didn't even feel like riding a lot of rides. It's so sad because if you were a ride enthusiast, you would have been in heaven. It was so dead.
So we went to Disney Hollywood Studios that morning, and everything was 5 minutes.
Yeah, even Toy Story, Midway Mania.
Everything.
And this was like 9:30, 10 a.m., like usually peak line time, and it was wide open.
Yeah.
Everything was a walk-on, and we noticed that some of the construction walls were down. They still had chain link fences to keep you out of the construction area, but they had taken some of the big boards, you know, that they used to block your view down. And so we filmed that, which I'll try to insert in this area. I haven't viewed the footage yet, so hopefully it turned out. If it did, I'll put that in here. You couldn't see that much. Like, we had seen on Twitter, oh, you can see Star Wars and all this. All I could see was that new modern LA street that they're building that's going to be, it's sort of part of the old streets of America, and they're remodeling it, and that's going to be the sort of entryway into Star Wars land. That was all I could really see. I don't remember seeing. It was neat to see, but and it looks pretty close to done. That part does. That, it makes me wonder. I know they're going to open that Baseline Tap House, but I wonder if they're even going to open some more of that street earlier if it's ready. But it wasn't like, I think it was being slightly exaggerated. Well, you said you even saw a news report that said, "Oh, you can see Star Wars land,"
maybe we were looking at Star Wars
and we just didn't know it. I don't know, but it wasn't as jaw dropping as we were expecting, I guess. And then we went to Food and Wine, I think, that day also, and it was
Friday, wide open.
Which is there were no lines, no crowds, nothing.
But unfortunately, we weren't like Carmen said, we weren't feeling well.
We were so sick.
Really enjoy it.
Yeah,
we tried to enjoy it.
We tried to make the best of it.
Yeah.
So we went back to our room fairly early that day. I don't mean early in the morning. I mean like early afternoon.
Yeah.
And because we knew we had to get up at like 3:30 because they were telling you to get to the airport super early because the lines were going to be bad.
3 hours ahead of your flight
for domestic flight.
Yeah. And I think they were saying 4 hours for international.
And we still had to get gas for our rental car, turn the rental car in. So we got up at 3:30 the next morning. So that's why we came back so early to pack and get ready. Well, while we were doing that, we kept getting flyers under the door, like one after the other. They gave us the same flyer twice, so that was probably just a mistake. And it basically said, I'll try to put either a picture or a video of it up here, but it basically was telling you could tune into a TV channel to get more information and that you could get free Disney movies, which we never got. So I'm assuming they meant while the parks were closed because they hadn't started the free Disney movies. We were like, yay, free Disney movies.
We even you called down to the desk or something.
I did.
Right?
And
hey, where's my free movies?
They said, yeah, we're not sure when they're going to start, but I'm guessing it was the days the park was closed, and the park was technically still open.
And the default hotel channel, that channel you turn on, that the hotel one comes up, that was running a message, about the hurricane.
Yeah. And they had a few other bits. And that's when they told us for the first time that they would be closed on Sunday and Monday. And that made us even gladder we were getting out because that's a lot of time to spend in your hotel room. It really is.
Well, I think was it Friday is when they officially announced the closure of the airport?
Yes.
I think it was Friday.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they announced the airport closed at 5 on Saturday. So we were like,
we're like, thank goodness we didn't have that 1 o'clock flight because that's a little too close.
That's pushing
for my
it.
comfort.
Well, and what if it got canceled? Then there's no backup flight. Like if that flight got canceled. So then they put a bigger flyer under our door, and I can't remember if it had different information on it or not. But I'll try to put that up here if I have.
I think that
a
one was
picture
talking
of
about
it.
getting food from the parks and
That's
stuff.
right. That was interesting. They specifically told you to please go to the parks and stock up on food for the 2 days they were going to be closed because they knew the resorts didn't have enough food to handle 2 days worth of people staying there. So they were telling you to please go back to the park and buy food and then bring it back to your room to stock up because they were still going to be open another full day for Saturday. So and then later Friday evening, Brian got an email that put him into a slight state of panic for the rental car. So this was one of the first times we had rented a car for the trip, except when we drive down. We always rent a car when we drive down, but I'm talking about when we fly. This was one of the first times. So tell them how that went.
So I rented from Alamo, and everyone was nice at Alamo, picking it up and return. Very efficient,
All of it was efficient.
Yeah, because I didn't know, because to me, Alamo is kind of a cheaper end. I don't know. Maybe it's not.
He's used to Hertz.
I'm used to Hertz.
Yeah.
Hertz is, to me, top of the line. I mean, they really go all out for you. But anyway.
I thought this was just as good.
It was.
Yeah.
So, they sent me an email saying, hey, by the way, you can't return your car. We're going to be closed. They said, you can take the car to any destination, which that was going to be our backup plan anyway.
And that was nice because otherwise we would have been charged by the mile to drive it back home, which would have been really expensive.
So that part was okay with me because that was the backup plan anyway, to take the car all the way back home in case we missed our flight or something.
Right, something went wrong.
But so we were planning on going Saturday morning. I didn't want show up at the airport and what am I supposed to do with this car, So I called Alamo and I had to make a couple calls before I got someone who actually had some information for me, and they assured me, says no, they'll be open until 3 o'clock, and even if they're not open, they got to drop off. So
So that ended up being a non-issue, but the email was stressful because it made it sound like we're stuck with this car that we didn't want to keep.
Seems like everything stressful happened on Friday, all at one day, between...
Yeah. Well, and having this, again, not trying to minimize those directly affected by it, and also those stuck that didn't get to go home. But the whole thing was kind of stressful because the whole week we're like, did we move our flight up early enough? Because it was too late then, there was nothing left. But you're just like constantly like, did I move it back far enough?
In fact, the next day, so Saturday morning, we're driving to the airport. We were gassing up the car, and that's when I checked my phone. And that's when the delays started showing up for the flight. I was like, oh no, here we go.
So it turned out our plane was there, but the pilot wasn't. And one thing, here's a piece of advice, because this has happened to us twice now. If the plane's there, but the flight's delayed for whatever reason, always bank that Southwest will load you early. They did that to us at Christmas, and they did it this time, meaning normally they only start boarding, like 30 minutes ahead or so?
Well, it was actually late because the flight was delayed like 2.5 hours, I think, because of the pilot situation. But so they said it's delayed. We're going to board at this time. Sure enough, they start boarding way before that.
Way before that.
Yeah,
and they did the same thing at Christmas. They were waiting because of traffic and MCO. They were waiting where we live. And they did the same thing. They boarded way early. Yeah. And because Southwest doesn't have assigned seats and you do those queues,
you don't want to miss
that. So just keep that in mind. Show up early at your gate if they ever delay a flight, because they'll usually, unless they don't have a plane, they'll load you early.
So after turning in the car, when we got to the airport and we started walking, we had to go to the ticket counter because we had our luggage, so we had to check our luggage. We started walking down all the ticket counters had this massive of people, it's just like everywhere. And it's like, oh man.
I mean, we're talking like 2 to 3 hour long lines, easily.
It was insane. I never seen something like that.
They had put all this tape on the carpet, to like line people up. I've never seen anything like it in the airport ever.
Yeah, I was just like, dreading it, to be waiting in this line. And we got down to Southwest. Now, Southwest had a ton of people there, checking in. But we walked right up to, it was all kiosk driven, which was awesome.
They had tons of kiosks.
Yeah.
Tons.
So it seemed like every lane had like two or three, maybe 2 kiosks.
Oh, and if you're wondering why we're checking our luggage at the airport instead of doing it with Disney turned that off. They quit doing the luggage on Friday, I think. Or they said they wouldn't be doing it on Saturday. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was just a fluke Friday. I went to go get a paper at the Bell Services. And I just went ahead and popped out to the luggage service. I forget why. I guess to ask them what time they open, or no, I was going to say, hey, if my flight is at 8 a.m., am I going to have enough time, for the luggage to get there? And so I asked, and they said, oh, sorry, we're going to be closed tomorrow. I was like, ooh, good thing I checked, because otherwise we would banked on, getting our luggage.
Them doing it. And also, we would have had to leave later because they didn't open till like 5, and so that would have been pushing it for getting to the. We wouldn't be at the airport 3 hours early. We would have waited around until and then find out they're not even open. And they didn't.
That's something they didn't communicate.
I was about to say that they didn't put it on the flyers, and it wasn't on the TV. So that was one thing they could have communicated was that they weren't doing that, because we were planning to use it. It just makes things easier, and you don't have to deal with the lines at the airport.
They were running Magical Express there, because when we left the the resort, there was a bus
some
there
Magical Express
waiting,
buses. But I guess you just had to take your luggage with you.
Yeah. So anyway, back at the airport, Southwest, I think they had like 2 kiosks, and then you just walk up and drop off your luggage. Yep. We just walked right up to an empty kiosk, and then handed our luggage, and we're off,
It was seriously like 10 minutes. Yeah, it was really fast.
The airport is, they're very efficient with the TSA. They have tons of, TSA check-ins. We do the pre-check. TSA check, and, that was wide open. We just walked right up. But even normal wasn't bad. Wasn't bad at all.
Well, this was very early, though. Keep in mind, we got to the airport really early. This was probably around 5 or so.
Well, let's see. We left like 3:30, right? So it was 30.
No, we got up at 3:30. We left like 4:30.
Yeah, it's probably around 5.
5:30, somewhere in there.
Yeah, because we were like 3 hours before, and of course there was delay. So we just hung out in the food court area for, I guess,
a long time.
4 or 5
probably
hours.
A couple of hours. No, not 5.
Was it?
Was it? No.
Well, we got there at 5, and the flight would have left at 8, but we didn't end up leaving until 10. So it's like 5 hours.
We left at 10? I thought we left at 9.
I don't think so. No. seemed like it was 10. I don't know.
Oh,
it was a long time. We were hanging out.
It was a really long time.
But, you know,
and same with other people, though. We saw so many people. Like,
Yeah.
I've never seen the airport that full of just people hanging out like that, especially that early in the morning.
Yeah.
And it was funny. It was pitch dark. If you've ever been in that food court, it's lit by, like, skylight, like, just tons of skylights. And it was pitch dark, and it was funny. It would get lighter and lighter, like as the sun came up. I've never noticed that before because we've never sat there for so long. But yes, super grateful that we got out. I mean, so grateful, especially being sick. Like being stuck in the room for 2 days with nothing to do and being sick, that would have just so not been fun. Well, not to mention our reservation was going to run out Sunday, and we had rented DVC points, so we're not DVC owners, and so we were in a DVC villa. So we were like, where are we going to go? Because we would have to move to like Pop or All Stars, and then do they have a room? You know, because we wouldn't have wanted to pay. That was our vacation budget, so we wouldn't have wanted to pay some exorbitant, price. Because if you rent DVC rooms straight from Disney and you're not a DVC owner, they are expensive. You can, but they're really expensive. So we just felt so blessed and lucky all the way around that we were able to get out. And like I said, if it wasn't for my dad worrying early on, I'm not sure if we would have moved the flight soon enough. You know, we would have probably thought of it when it was too late to actually move the flight. So anything else you can think of?
I think that was it. So I think the airport was closed until, I want to say Tuesday.
It opened Tuesday.
Yeah.
So we would have been stuck there a minimum of Tuesday, but then that assumes you can even get a flight out on Tuesday. Because we had some friends that were there and they couldn't get out till Wednesday. So
Magic Kingdom. Yes.
Hey guys. But I would just like to say, I think Disney handled it really well. I mean, could they have done a few things a little better? Sure, like the luggage, like if they had
the luggage thing was pretty big. They could have
communicated that. And other than that, though, I was impressed with the level of communication because we got 3 flyers under our door. Plus, like he said, there was the big ticker tape, and this is on Friday, so the hurricane wasn't until Sunday. So I mean, this is pretty good warning. And then they had a whole channel just dedicated to information on it. So I think they did a really good job. Oh, and we did also notice that they were starting to take some of the food and wine kiosk signs down, like over India or over the kiosk. They were starting to take, this was on Friday, taking some of those down. And I think we saw them either tying down or taking down some other stuff. We saw a few preparations beginning on Friday. Yeah.
All right.
It was interesting. So I hope you found this interesting. It was interesting to live through. I'm sure it'd be even more interesting for the people who stayed and endured the whole weather and everything. But like I said, I think we ended up lucky, and I was impressed with Disney and the airport. I feel like they both handled, because that was a lot of people leaving at the airport, and I feel like it was handled.
And at the Alamo drop-off, there are a ton of people coming through there.
They had tons of employees. Right they were really prepared. So so we liked all of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed, we appreciate subscribes, likes, shares, and comments. Bye.